Hear the promises of Scripture. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my victorious hand. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. All who believe in me, though they die, yet shall they live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Please rise in body or spirit for our first hymn, For the Beauty of the Earth. Please join me in prayer. God of compassion and love, you have breathed into us the breath of life. You journey with us our whole lives long, and to you we return. You have given to us Jackie Harris to know and to love on our pilgrimage on earth. Uphold us now as we remember her, and as we entrust her to your boundless love and eternal care. Be with us as we hear your word, and assure us that not even death can separate us from your infinite mercy and love. Amen. Amen. Psalm 23 paints a picture of God's love and care. I invite you to say it with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And this reading from the Gospel of John, chapter 15. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Twice each year, prior to the pandemic, the Cokesbury Village Spiritual Life Committee offered an all-day retreat to Cokesbury residents. One was held here in the spring, And one in the fall was off campus at a beautiful conference center in Maryland. For many years, Jackie participated in those retreats, enjoying times filled with learning, opportunities for reflection and camaraderie with other residents. And for several of those years, Jackie served on the retreat planning team. And in January of 2020, when the planning team met to begin thinking of a theme and planning the spring retreat, it was Jackie who suggested happiness. She had researched resources and brought those to share with the group. The group chose happiness as a theme and began planning for the spring retreat. But we all know what happened in spring of 2020. The pandemic struck, and we were unable to hold that retreat. But now, whenever I think of Jackie, I think of happiness. Jackie was one who knew the secret to a happy and fulfilling life. She was a lover of learning, taking advantage of opportunities to grow and to gain new insights through study groups and Bible studies, lectures, and by being an avid reader. Jackie cared about others. When the pandemic began, I started a daily prayer group. We connected by phone each day, and I could count on Jackie every morning at 10 o'clock, phoning into the group as members checked in with one another and shared readings, and as we prayed for others and for all the difficult situations in our chaotic world. Jackie cared about the world around her. She went with us a few years ago when a group from Cokesbury traveled to Neighborhood House in the Southbridge area of Wilmington to learn more about the difference that ministry was making in the lives of people who lived in that neighborhood. Jackie served on the resident council here. She delivered Meals on Wheels, and she was a dedicated member of the League of Women Voters. Jackie cared about the world around her. And as a music major, she appreciated good music and the way that music enriches our lives, touches our hearts, and nurtures our spirits. Jackie knew the secret to happiness. When Jesus knew that he would be leaving his friends, he shared parting words with them. They are recorded in the Gospel of John. I read some of what he said a few minutes ago. During that farewell address, Jesus talked to his friends about many things to help them navigate life when he would no longer be physically present with them. And one of the things he talked about was happiness. Joy, he called it. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. And keeping that commandment will bring you joy. Happiness, joy. Not only did Jackie know the keys to building a happy and fulfilling life for herself, she kept that commandment to love one another. And in so doing, she brought joy to those around her. That's really why we're all here today. We each bring our own memories of Jackie as a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, as a sister, as a fellow resident of Cokesbury Village for the last 16 years. We gather to thank God for the time we spent with her, the love we have for her, and the love she shared with us. And in the days ahead, we can honor her memory by following her example as we strive to love one another. When we find ourselves spending time with those we love most, Jackie Harris lives on. When we find ourselves reaching out to others in thoughtfulness and kindness, Jackie Harris lives on. When we find ourselves volunteering to use our time and talents to make a difference and to help others, Jackie Harris lives on. In our lives, in our actions toward others, in our love for others, is where Jackie's memory will live. Thanks be to God for the gift of memory, and thanks be to God for Jackie Harris.
Amen. Good morning and welcome. Thank you all for coming on what is apparently going to be the hottest day of the year. I'm Karen Harris, and for those of you quietly trying to piece together the family tree, I'm married to Mark, Jackie's oldest son, so I am daughter-in-law number 1, if you will. As such, I've known Mom for many, many years, decades really. And over that time, we've shared many things: holidays, meals, days at the beach, recipes. Besides children, grandchildren, and her precious great-grandchildren, our strongest connection through the years has always been books. We're both librarians, and we're both avid readers. Most of you probably know Jackie was a school librarian, not just a school librarian, a junior high school librarian. People don't give much thought to this career, but I can assure you it demands copious amounts of patience and fortitude. In addition to building and maintaining the collection at Hamby Junior High, she oversaw study halls, detention, countless required book reports, and assigned research projects. Some of the students were engaged, others, let's say, probably a little less so. But over 20 years, how many times did she hand the right book to the right student at the right time? Something that captured the student's imagination, lit a spark, touched a heart, changed a life. Books have the power to do that, and so too do librarians. I have no doubt during the course of her career she did that many, many times, and that is such a wonderful legacy. Upon retirement, Mom became very active in the League of Women Voters, you're going to hear more about that, and was appointed to the Governor's Task Force on School Libraries, which she eventually went on to chair. She used her knowledge and her voice to advocate for libraries and the importance of reading. Her tireless work was recognized in 2006 when she received the Delaware Library Association Distinguished Library Citation, a very noteworthy achievement, and I might add it was only one of among many she received. Here at Cokesbury, as many of you know, she was an active volunteer in the library, and until very recently, she participated on the library committee. She also edited and wrote book reviews for the Cokesbury Courier. Once a librarian, always a librarian. And through her many years, she read. Format didn't matter. Hardcover, paperback, large print, ebooks, audiobooks. There were always books next to her favorite chair, and titles on the nightstand by her bed. Bookshelves occupied all available wall space. When she moved, the bookshelves moved as well, something that all her children can attest to. Not only did Jackie read, she shared her love of reading with family and friends. As I have been reminiscing, I honestly cannot remember a time when we were together that our conversation didn't eventually pivot around to the inevitable question, so, what are you reading? What's it about? Do you like it? May I borrow it? During her final days, Mom was reading Kate Quinn's The Rose Code, which she was enjoying and pronounced to be very good. I don't know that she was able to finish this 850-page tome. She was reading the large print edition. But on her recommendation, I've just finished reading this wonderful novel, and I've dutifully returned it to the library. So, as I continue my reading journey, when I turn the last page of a good book, I will think of Mom. And I hope you will as well. What a befitting and enduring legacy for this librarian extraordinaire and devoted book lover.
Hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I am Jackie's youngest granddaughter, Rachel. John is my dad. And I thought I would just talk about some of my favorite memories from Jackie, or as I knew her, Nana. And it was definitely the holidays. That was the best time of the year because we got to go see our Nana and Pop-Up, and we got to have many traditions that I know will last probably longer than even my lifetime that we got to start with them that were so wonderful. When we would arrive for Christmas, no matter where we were, the house that they lived in when we were little kids, the apartment that she had here, even her small room that she had recently, we would get to decorate the Christmas tree, and that was so much fun because they had so many ornaments. They had these little birds, they had little wreaths, they had bows, and it was just so wonderful. And I know my brother and I had a lot of fun, doing that, even though we couldn't reach the top, and so they would have to do that part for us, but it was wonderful. And then Nana would just have so many cookies for us, and they were always delicious. You could tell that she really put a lot of effort into making them. She would do the Christmas cookie cutouts that were, angels and snowmen and Christmas trees, and we'd have a bunch of different colors of frosting to decorate them with, which was always fun for all the grandkids. And then she would make these cookies called rocks. And I don't remember exactly what's in them, but it was like cinnamon, raisins, and maybe walnuts or something, and they had no chocolate in them whatsoever, which usually I would turn them away, but they were so good. And every year, even into her 90s, she would make them for us, and they were always so delicious. And then in the morning, that was the best part of Christmas, and not because of the presents, but because of the casserole. Every year she would make this breakfast casserole, and you all know what I'm talking about. It was so good. And we're lucky that, she shared the recipe with us. So this Christmas, I was able to make it for everyone, and it was, almost as good as when Nana used to make it, and she seemed to like it. So I'll take that as a good sign. But, you got your eggs, your sausage, your cheese, and it makes the whole house smell like Christmas, even though it doesn't smell like cinnamon or anything that you'd normally associate with Christmas. But we all love it, and she would always get sticky buns from the farmers markets and have, clementines and just all these foods that I kind of associate with going to Nana and Pop-Pop's house. So it always makes me really happy. And then for Easter, we would go over, and my brother and I would hunt for Easter eggs that her and Pop-Pop had so carefully hidden throughout mostly the bookshelves. And around, but that was always fun, and they'd always have a big Easter basket for us with a chocolate bunny and lots of fun surprises. So Nana always put a lot of care into making sure that we would have the most special holidays even better than the year before. So it was always a treat, even though we had to drive 2 hours, which was really long for a kid, but my dad always put up with us in the car, and it was always worth it because it made the holidays so enjoyable. So I look forward to carrying on all those traditions for many years to come. And I feel very lucky that I got to grow up with a role model like Jackie, because as you all heard of her many accomplishments that were listed and many more that she has that we haven't even said, she was a really, really incredible and inspiring woman. So every time I read, I think about her, which is a lot. So it's pretty wonderful that we all got to know her. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Letty Diswood. I've been the office manager for the League of Women Voters of Delaware and Newcastle County for many, many years. Too long. I got to know Jackie when she joined the League of Women Voters in 1989 as a member of the League's statewide public library study. If you want something done, recruit someone like Jackie. Fun-loving, organized, focused, and always enjoying interesting conversations. We had many in the car driving back and forth to Dover. She served as secretary and then co-president of the League of Women Voters of Newcastle County, 1992 to 1994. It's during that time that she oversaw the successful merger of the Newark and Greater Wilmington League. No small task, with lots of women and opinions. She was the editor of our newsletter for years and served as chair of the Governor's Task Force on School Libraries. And we always got updates in that newsletter from that time. I went through the old newsletters and found a whole bunch of interesting things she said. Jackie did not shy away from projects. One of those projects was to accept an invitation from a nonprofit in Philadelphia that would train Jackie, myself, and one person from New Jersey and Pennsylvania leagues to set up our own websites. Please note, none of us had any experience in this effort. However, kudos to Jackie, who managed to get one of the first league websites online in the nation. We had a lot of fun. When she was president of the State League from 1997 to 1994, she was interviewed by a reporter from the News Journal. She did well in the interview and answered a wide range of questions. But the one thing she was not thrilled about was that he printed her name at the top of the article. I mean, her age at the top of the article. I will mention some of the questions from the reporter about among 8 that Jackie skillfully answered. There were actually some questions that did focus on the League's mission, but I'm going to pick out the ones that were especially difficult. The organization grew out of the women's suffrage movement about 80 or so years ago. Are most women today really interested in politics? Another question. Can we also infer from that that the League is largely made up of older, retired people? Okay. The next one, the last one I have here, out of the 8. If 2 people were running for office who were more or less equally qualified, and one was a man who represented your political party, and the other was a woman running for the other ticket, for whom would you vote? Hey, the question is, it was kind of sad. She was a great inspiration to me and a mentor. Over the course of many years I have known Jackie, I admired her ability to function as our president with handling different personalities, paperwork, and emails. And on top of that, to have her husband Jack's papers depicting Mayan hieroglyphics, pictures, and history strewn all over the dining room table and the furniture. There's a lot going into that. We got a lot of lectures about Mayan hieroglyphics when I met Jackie going over the voter. He did get to publish the book. She was in full support of Jack's study and teaching and the book. Later on, Jackie and Kit Kalal, and some of you may know Kit Kalal, she's been a League member for many, many years and a volunteer. They spent several weeks sorting through old files in the office and decided what to keep and what to get rid of. The files were going back to 1950s. Needless to say, they got stuck reading and joking about the good old days, and not much ended up in the trash. We all miss Jackie.
Hello, I am Kathy Harris. I am Jackie's daughter. And first of all, I just want to thank you all on behalf of the family for being here today, for helping us to celebrate my mom's memory. And we're learning things about her we didn't know, so that's a lovely thing. I would also like to thank Lotus and Kim and Dot for sharing your wonderful musical abilities with us. I can't cry now. I have to wait a little longer. She would have loved it, so thank you so much. So I have a poem that I would like to read to you, but before I do that, I just want to say a few words about Mom and her love for music and how she shared that with us as children and adults, and I'm sure with many of you as friends. So Mom and Dad actually met because they were studying voice with the same teacher when they were in college at University of Pennsylvania. And they both told me the story that Dad would wear his Navy uniform to his lessons, and he would leave the hat on the chair out in the waiting room with a love note in it for Mom. And when he came out to his lesson and she went into hers, she had left one for him. So that's where it all began and continued on for many years. They sang in church choirs together. They discovered a great love for the Philadelphia Orchestra, and I think for probably, 62 of their 67 years of marriage, they had a subscription and would travel to Philadelphia to the Academy of Music originally. They loved to go to the Commissary restaurant and for dinner, and then go to the Academy of Music for dinner or for the concert, and then they eventually made the transition to the Kimmel Center reluctantly, but actually learned to love that as well. So it was a huge part of their married life, and it was something that we grew up watching them do. It was just a normal part of life. Our parents went off to concerts, sang in concerts, did music, right? Mom, though, was particularly determined that her children would take music lessons. So even though she worked full-time, she committed to driving us around after school to music lessons. Mark played the clarinet, John played the flute, I studied piano and eventually voice with the same teacher that they studied with in college, which meant she was driving me to Swarthmore to take voice lessons because that's where he lived. So this was a big dedication. She also committed to choir and marching band rehearsals. She suffered through many school concerts, all-state band and chorus. It was just a huge commitment, but it was non-negotiable. We were going to study music. I asked Mom, later in life, why that had been so important to her. And she said partly that she and my father wanted to share their great love for music with us. It had informed their lives in such a huge way. But it was also her belief that this was just the right thing to do, and that culture was important, and that we would learn focus and discipline and the sense of accomplishment that comes from working at something over a long period of time to get good at it. It was just a really important thing for us to do. So we had mixed feelings. I know there were times when we, in our teen years, might not have wanted to have to practice, but I know that all of us, I certainly went on to study music in college and have made it my professional life since then, but my brothers also have incorporated music in their lives and in their children's lives, and that is something that Mom shared with us. She did not speak easily about herself. Mom was generally self-effacing and somewhat shy. She would fight for a cause to the death, but she had a difficult time speaking about herself. She was shy in that way. She was not inclined to make strong statements like, music fills my soul, for instance, but it clearly did, and it continued to do so throughout her life, especially in the time that she spent in Willowbrook Court here in Cokesbury Village, when my brother Mark had a brilliant idea to bring a device into her room, affectionately referred to as Alexa, which could play a piece of music on demand for Mom. And she rather enjoyed bossing Alexa around and telling her what piece of music to play. She could listen to music without fiddling with CDs or her iPad or any other technology that was becoming increasingly difficult for her to manage. And that music would literally change the atmosphere in the room. And the expression on her face would soften with nostalgia or just with the pleasure of hearing the music. And it helped her greatly get through these last difficult months of her life. Even as she approached the very end of her life and she was having difficulty speaking, I could request a piece of music from Alexa that I knew she would enjoy. One of the last pieces we listened to together was The Swan, the beautiful cello solo from the Carnival of the Animals, and we listened to Yo-Yo Ma play it on the cello. And though she really couldn't speak words at all, I could see from this radiant look on her face that she was loving every minute of it. So Mom, we love you, we miss you, and we thank you for the music and the books and the family vacations and the year in Germany and all the many things that informed our lives and have stayed with us into adulthood. So now I'm going to read a poem. This is called Celebrate the Interval, and it's by a man named Richard Gilbert, who is a Unitarian Universalist minister. I heard this read at a memorial service a few weeks ago, and it really struck me, and I thought it was very appropriate in commenting on my mother's life as well. Life is a brief interval between birth and death, composed of a few notes between prelude and postlude. It is a drama quickly played between the rising and falling of a curtain. What shall we do with that interval of time? What combination of notes shall we play? What thespian mask shall we wear? The transience of life tempers our joy. Discordant notes reverberate in the soul. The ending of the play is ever in doubt. Yet the brevity can be rich with joy. A simple tune caresses our ears. The play produces laughter from time to time. Why then are we so careless with time? Why do we not sound the music of our hearts? Why do we not feel the stage beneath our feet? Is it not time to enjoy the interval? Is it not time to play our own melody? Is it not time for us to act our part? Life is a brief interval between birth and death. May we celebrate the interval with joy. May we sing the song that belongs to us. May we act as if our very life depended on it. It does.
Please join me in prayer. O God, before whom generations rise and pass away, thank you for those who have shared with us the gift of time, the gift of love, the gift of themselves. Especially we thank you for Jackie Harris, for the gift of her life. She was a devoted wife, a caring mother, an accomplished librarian, and an inspiration to so many. Thank you for blessing her with children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Thank you for the love and care she shared with her family and their love and care for her. Thank you for the example she set for them, a strong work ethic, sharing her love of music or the joy of reading. Thank you, O God, for Jackie's love of learning, her appreciation for the beauty of flowers and birds, her care for others, her spirit of adventure on family vacations. Thank you for her long and full life. We are grateful for all the ways Jackie made a difference in her community through her work with the League of Women Voters, Meals on Wheels, and here at Cokesbury Village, as she served on resident council and the courier and retreat planning teams. Thank you for the memories we have of her, those special memories which we share now silently. In tender love and compassion, embrace Jackie's family and friends. Sustain them in their loss. Be their refuge and strength. Wrap your arms around them and comfort them. O God, in this Easter season, in this season when we celebrate new life, we rejoice in your promises to us, that you have prepared a place for us and that we will dwell in your house forever and in the arms of your eternal love. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Please rise in body or spirit for our hymn, Be Thou My Vision. now may God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God look upon you with kindness and bring you peace. Amen. Please be seated for the postlude. And then following the postlude, I just ask that you allow Jackie's family to exit the auditorium with me first.
It was well done.